Oh, let's go Rangers. Oh, let's go Rangers. Oh, let's go Rangers. Oh, let's go Rangers. Hey, 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 hey. Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Cutter video. We're doing a top 10, and this top 10 is to this team, the Rangers. Not the New York Rangers, as you can see on the left side, is the OHL thing. Yes, I am an avid Kitchener Ranger fan. This is my hometown, Kitchener, Ontario, and I've been to 19 Kitchener Ranger games. My thought was I would be telling you the top 10 Ranger games I went to out of the 20 that I've been to in person. But along the way, I made some foolish editing boo boos. And I found out that I miscounted one game, which was a win. So I'm 14, 4, and 1 live. And I have a personal 5 game winning streak. So that's pretty impressive. And all that. It is actually tied for the longest winning streak I've had. This is the second time I've been at 5 straight Kitchener Ranger games with the Rangers winning. So I have a span right now of 10-1. Of the last 11 Ranger games I've been to, I've only seen them fall once. Now, my history of being at Kitchener Ranger games started in 2015. Well, started Christmas Day 2014 when I got the 100 Things Every Leaf Fan Must Know book. And in the book were two Kitchener Ranger tickets, 2 tickets to the early February game, and then just the single ticket for the next game, which was 3 weeks later against the same opponent. So, my aunt, because she was working at National Service Dog, she ended up getting that extra ticket. So she got that second ticket. So she got me to my second game and all that. So I've been to 19 games over the span of 10 years, and I've been to 9 in this season. The 2024-25 season has been my most viewed. I've seen 9 games. A potential 10th game could come on Tuesday, March the 18th. So that means if possible, that means I've been to as many games this season, as I've been to in um, my lifetime. Nevertheless, let's talk about the Kitchener Rangers and all that. All right. So number 10 on the list of the games is the game February 2020 when Kitchener took on Erie and beat Erie 4-3. I guess I should have my notebook in front of me, kind on my lap. All right. So this game, February 21st, 2020, Erie and beat Erie 4-3. That was the Sanderson management game. No, I did not go to Sanderson management. My good friend Bill Lang went to Sanderson and was there for many years before being ushered out in a bad way. Of course, I don't know the details, but do I have to say it? No, I don't. He got out in a bad way. The fact of the matter is that Sanderson was having Kitchener Ranger tickets, and he invited me and I believe it was Carlos, his other close friend Carlos, to the Ranger game, and of course I agreed. And so me and Bill went to the Ranger game, and of course, we had fun. Unfortunately, though, the seats were very, 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 very high up. We were near the broadcast area, and a little bit bemoaning the seat position and all that. But nevertheless, we got to see the game, so that's good. Number 9 on the list is the game on. Oh, I forgot to mention. Yeah, I forgot to mention that on February 21st, 2020. Of course, this was about a month before COVID. And also, it was 8 days before my dad died in real life. So I didn't think anything of it that, I would see a Kitchener Ranger game 8 days before my dad died. But nevertheless, number 9 is the game February 28th, 2017, when Guelph came to town, and I got to see it 4-2. It wasn't kind of the result that was special. It was the fact that I got to see the game with my Aunt Mick. So what happened was that Bill called me up and said, "Hey, I have Kitchener Ranger tickets for for you to take Mick because I can't use them. And I'm like, okay. So I go pick up the tickets from Bill's house, and me and Mick went to see the game and all that. It was fun. It was 4-2 for Kitchener, and it was awesome. That was my third ever Ranger game I went to. So yeah, it was fun seeing my Aunt Mick, of course. A family ties is that my Uncle Finney and my Aunt Brenda have Ranger season tickets and all that. They go to games and all that. I've been to one game with Uncle Finn, but that game is on the list. Number 8 on the list was a game just this past January 21st, 2025, when Kitchener beat London 5-2. The reason why that's a big game is because it's London. It's our heated rivals. Spitui. And I sometimes spit when I have to mention the London Knights, but I'm not going to actually spit. The fact of the matter is that, you know, London was a tough team. They're basically a runaway team. And as of this taping, they're the top team in the OHL by points. But the fact of the matter is that the Kitchener Rangers were a very disheartened group. But yeah, they won 5-2. It was a Tuesday game, if I remember, because they were wearing the battle red sweaters and all that. And of course, there were a lot of fights. There was a lot of problems. Fans yelling at Dale Hunter, the Knights coach, and all that. And all that. And then I decided to do something gracious. I found like when people were walking down and all that. I found some London Knights fans and offered to shake my hand at them, but they refused. And I'm like, that's fucking classless and all that. If I was allowed, I would have told them, yeah, you're just like your organization, classless. Because if Kitchener had lost to London, I would have shook their hands and said, congratulations. Fuck that convention. Sorry, that's just how I say it. Number 7 on the list is a game just 8 days ago on March the 7th. Kitchener beating Windsor 7-4. That game's important because it was the OHL Game of the Week on YouTube and OHL TV and all that between two Western Conference rivals, if you will. Now, Kitchener has more points than Windsor, which means, okay, they're second in the conference because, London's tops in the conference and best team in the OHL, right? Wrong-o. The OHL has 4 divisions, and the winners of each division get the 2 divisions within the conference get the 1 and 2 seeds. That means Kitchener, no matter what happens, will be the 3 seed. As of this taping, it looks like the Flint Firebirds will be the first round opponent of the Kitchener Rangers. So anyhow, Kitchener won the game 7-4. It was actually tight. It was a 3-2 game after 2 periods. But then 6 goals were scored in the third period. It was back and forth, back and forth. But Kitchener ended up winning the game 7-4. That's the most goals I've ever seen live at a Kitchener Ranger game by both teams and by the Kitchener Rangers themselves. So yeah, it was fun. Number 6 on the list is a famous game, December 5th, 2023. That is the famous teddy bear toss game against the Guelph Storm when Kitchener won 5-2. I've been to 3 teddy bear games via Canadian Tire. So this is the one time I can get a Canadian tickets via Canadian Tire and not via Aaron. So anyhow, yeah, Canadian Tire had a block of tickets for the Ranger game and all that, and I got to take. And I went to one. Well, the first one I went to is not part of the top 10. That was December 6th, 2022 against Guelph, and I managed to get teddy bear toss tickets, and I managed to get Bill a ticket, and then he took his then 1-year-old Braden, what was it, 15-month-old Braden, to the game, and Braden was glued to the action and all that. Braden's now 3.5, so yeah, they could take Braden. Yeah, Bill could take Braden without a ticket because at the time, Braden's under the age of 3, was under the age of 3, so he was allowed. So anyway, yeah, the first one and the most recent one against Brantford, December 3rd, 2024. It was 6-3 for Kitchener, but I chose not that one. I don't know why, but I chose the second teddy bear toss game, December 5th, 2023, and make it 5-2 because that was the one that our boss Joe Kyan was on at center ice and all that, and there were a lot more teddy bears. I think 10,400 teddy bears that year. So yeah, it was fun being up in the Kitchener Ranger in the Canadian Tire section of the um, seating thing and all that. It was fun. Uh, Number 5 on the list was a game in one of the few games that I've seen Kitchener lose, but this game was important. This was the Carson Raycroft return game, January 10th of 2025 against Brampton, the the Steelheads, who moved from Mississauga for some dumb reason. I guess because of finances. So they moved from Mississauga to Brampton, and Brampton finally getting an OHL team back after losing the Battalion to North Bay. And yes, the Battalion is in one of my top 4, and I'll talk about that later. Nevertheless, Carson Raycroft was this big player for Kitchener, being part of Canada at the World Juniors in 2024-25, and they underutilized him. And if they had utilized Raycroft, I think that Canada would have won the gold. Nevertheless, Raycroft was coming back to Kitchener, his first game back after leaving in a massive trade with Mississauga. People thought Raycroft was going to make either the NHL roster or the AHL roster, but he made neither, so he was sent back to the OHL. And Mississauga had him. Or Brampton, sorry, the Steelheads had him. So he was making his return, but fans were applauding him. Brampton won the game 5-2, and worst of all, in a sense, Raycroft scored 2 goals on the Rangers. But no one was mad when he scored the goals. Nobody. Anyway, number 4 on the list is the most recent one. Just yesterday, March 14th, against the North Bay Battalion, who used to be the Brampton Battalion, but now they're North Bay Battalion. Kitchener won the game. The score and the fact that someone got a hat trick made it high on the list. It was Kitchener North Bay, and before the game, I went on Facebook and I posted to my thing, and of course, I tagged Jeff Brandon, and said that, well, I know you're a North Bay Battalion fan. Good luck to your team. It's not going to be easy. He took it graciously and all that. And then when I posted the Kitchener Rangers post about the score and all that, 6-0 was the score. I told Jeff, I'm sorry, but it just seemed like they didn't carry the game and all that. Like I said, I wish the score was closer and all that. But he said, we're rebuilding. I'm not worried. And I said, you should be worried. You're fighting for 8th of Ottawa for the conference. Nevertheless, Kitchener won the game 6-0. So I got to see a 6-goal blowout. A. B, I got to see a shutout, which I usually never do. The closest thing to a shutout was the first teddy bear toss game in 2022, and a game against Erie. I saw Friday, January 3rd, 25 against Erie. And I saw Barrie only score 1 goal on Kitchener in February 2025. But nevertheless, I saw a shutout. And not only that, Tanner Lamb put up a hat trick. And, I threw my hat onto the ice and all that. Allegedly, I can go back to guest services and claim my hat back. So hopefully I can get my hat back. If not, it's no big deal. But yeah, I threw it on the ice for a hat trick and all that. So yeah, that's convention. Strictly convention. Number 3 on the list was a giant comeback in the third period between the Rangers and Owen Sound. That was November 30th of the season 2024. It was 5-3. Owen Sound reminds me of the first time that Aaron took me to the Ranger game, and this did not make the list. The game with Aaron was October 6th, 2023. I had only seen 5 games in my lifetime. Kitchener winning 4 and losing 1 by shootout, which did not make the list. I guess because it was a loss. But the fact of the matter is, he was my warehouse manager at the time, and working in the warehouse. And then he said to me, out of freaking nowhere on the Friday, he said, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Probably YouTube videos." Why? He says, "Do you want to go to the Ranger game with me?" And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, I have tickets. My mom's tickets. She doesn't want to use them. So just you and me." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll go to the Ranger game." So yeah, so we went to the Kitchener Ranger game. And all then saw Kitchener lose 5-2. So against the same Owen Sound team, November 30th, 2024, we were in trouble. We were down 5-3, and actually, the Kitchener Rangers had this promotion that a certain section of the fan base of the seats would get a free Chick-fil-A sandwich if the Rangers score 5 goals. So it was down 5-3, and Aaron joked to me and said that the only way I'm going to get that sandwich is if Kitchener ties the game or takes the lead. And he giggled. And I'm like, yeah, we're down 5-3. It looked bad for Owen Sound. I guess Owen Sound. But all of a sudden, we scored 3 goals in the third period, win the game 6-5. And yeah, I did not get my chicken sandwich. Aaron said, well, because my mom had the tickets. She redeemed all the chicken sandwiches. I'm like, are you nuts? All I want is a freaking chicken sandwich. And I'm like, just slap on a piece of chicken between 2 pieces of bread. I'll take it. He's not going to budge. Well, of course, Kitchener scored 5 goals last game. And our section, the Reds, our red section got to be picked for the Chick-fil-A thing. Maybe I'll get my chicken sandwich after all. I hope so. I better. I'm sorry. I'm just a little bitter. But yeah, that was a massive comeback. Number 2 on the list is my first ever Kitchener Ranger game, February 3rd, 2015, against the London Knights. Speak. So yeah, over 10 years ago, it was my first game I've ever been to. And, I was like, who do I get the other ticket to? So certainly, I'm like, what am I going to do? So Bill ended up coming with me, my good buddy Bill Lang. This was in the early years of our massive friendship. And the fact of the matter is that, yeah, it was my first game with Bill and all that, February 2015. I was excited. I wanted to go grab some food and all that. We went to the Kitchener Ranger game. We had fun. Me and Bill did. And, there's a lot of pictures of us and all that. I think I shared those on Facebook. But anyway, yeah, it was a great time. We took our pictures with a couple of mascots and all that. So, yeah, it was fun. And as the old saying goes, you never forget your first. And that was my first ever game, February 3rd, 2015. So it's funny, I went to 2 games in 2015, one in 2017, one in 2020, one in 22, 2 in 2023, 5 in the calendar year 2024, and I've now gone to 7 games in the calendar year 2025, with an 8th potential on Tuesday. I don't know, it's not confirmed, but anyway. Nevertheless, the number 1 Kitchener Ranger game I went to, and I did cheat. I cheated because it's a double dip. Why don't you have a sip? To the left, to the left, to the left, to the left. Shit. Sorry, it's to the left, to the left, to the left, to the right, to the right, to the right. Now slide, baby, slide, baby. Come on, go to the left, to the left. Because when I do video, I have to make sure that the hands are opposite of what I'm looking at. Cutter, you goof. Nevertheless, this is a double dip. There's a good reason. So anyway, the first game of this double dip was March the 1st against our old friends London. Speak. The fact of the matter is that Kitchener and London were finally tooth and nail. London tied it late, and then in overtime, 3-on-3 overtime, a few minutes into the game, Carson Raycroft puts it in the net. Kitchener beats London, our hated rivals. We did it. And then 2 days later, I went to another game. It's the fastest time between games I've been to. So March 3rd, 2024, it was a Sunday. But on the Saturday, March the 2nd, after the London game, I get a phone call by my Uncle Finn. He's like, Aunt Brenda can't use her tickets. She's suffering from dizziness. And would you like to go? And I said, yeah, you bet I would. So I got to go see the game with Uncle Finn. It was weird. I was sitting in a different section and all that. So yeah, I got to see the Kitchener Rangers play against the Kingston Frontenacs. And ironically, that's the city where Aaron's going to move to in June. He got a job at the Canadian Tire, Gananoque. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm sorry. I'm bad with that. But anyway, outside of Kingston. So Aaron does that. So the fact of the matter is that, it's Kingston. And this game was huge because the March 3rd game was big because they were going to bring back members of the 1982 Kitchener Rangers who won the first Memorial Cup in team history. That's the junior championship in Canada. So it was huge. Scott Stevens, Al McInnes were there. We have a good pedigree of players. Brian Bellows was there. It would have been nice to get autographs from them, but whatever. Nevertheless, Kitchener and Kingston went to overtime. Last minute of play, Raycroft zooms from the zone, comes in all alone. Boom! He scores, and he gets not only his second straight game with an overtime goal, which is rare. I mean, how many times does a team go to back to back game to overtime back to back games? Much less one player scoring overtime. Well, a team scoring back to back overtime wins and one player scoring those back to back overtime goals. That's a rarity in itself. But yeah, the Carson Raycroft game was basically the huge one. I should have just said, well, March set up by March 1st. But yeah, Raycroft, that was my favorite game of all time. And not only that, Carson Raycroft put up 50, making him the ninth Kitchener Ranger to put 50 goals up in a season. So you can kind of say that the Carson Raycroft game from March 2024 was my favorite, and it happened a year plus ago. And I got to see it live, and I got to see the 81-82 Kitchener Rangers live. So you know what? Screw it. That's the greatest game of all time. Carson Raycroft's 50th goal because of the context of going to a Sunday game, which I rarely did, which I think that's my only Sunday game I've ever been to with the Rangers. The context of seeing Carson Raycroft score his 50th goal, and not only that, he scored his second straight overtime goal. And I saw that. I saw both of them. So call it what you want, but that is the greatest game of all time. Now I'll probably have to hear something from Aaron. Jeffrey, Jeffrey. Oh, that rings hollow in my ears, Aaron. Yeah, and Smoke agrees with me. Anything Jeff Diamond to do.